The beginning of the school year brings a dramatic change to the streets of Boston. Along with more commuters back from vacations, you can expect more school buses, more delays, and more students crossing the street. And that means a need for more caution all around. To fill us in is our guest from the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security, the Director of the Highway Safety Division, Jeff Larason. Thank you very much for being with us, Jeff.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Well, I want to start first with the national picture, because there's one trend that I guess you're concerned about is when it comes to the number of crashes we're seeing.
Yeah, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration just came out with numbers that showed that the United States has now seen in 2015, the biggest spike in crashes in 50 years. We had an increase of 7.2%, and this after decades of crash numbers going down. So it's a disturbing trend, and the numbers in Massachusetts aren't final yet, but it's likely that we're going to be pretty close to that.
Now, this increase in crashes, it could mean more vehicles on the road, more people going back to work and economic recovery. But I guess maybe that's not the whole explanation.
Well, I mean, there's certainly some truth. People are traveling more. The gas prices are down, so that means the vehicle miles traveled are up. But the reality of it is you take that and the number of distractions that people have in the vehicle, that's really the main reason for the increase, is just people are looking at those phones.
Well, for people who haven't quite experienced it yet this year, what about those changes on the streets that people should be looking at? I know in Boston tomorrow is the first day of school, so what's it going to be like?
Well, it is going to be much busier. Obviously, we have school buses out there. People aren't on vacation anymore, and so that means the traffic volume, and this goes back to my history as a traffic reporter in previous careers, but we after Labor Day, you see a huge change in the whole traffic pattern. And parents are dropping their kids off at school, the kids are going to be out there, and we're just urging people to get back to paying attention to what they're doing, being cognizant of what's going on around them, and just put that phone down, put it away, and stop paying attention to that. Pay attention to everything that's around you.
Yeah, in other words, aside from putting down the phone, paying attention means you don't just look straight ahead these days, because you have to look at the little kid who's starting to cross the street, maybe, right?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I mean, so we have become accustomed to just, you get to a red light or a stop sign and you just inevitably look down. We need to get away from that as a culture. We need to stop having that be an acceptable act while we're driving. So we're talking more and more about being attentive while you're driving, just paying attention not only to straight ahead, like you say, but everything that's going around you. You need to be able to anticipate all of those things that are around you. I mean, there's that old adage, following a bouncing ball comes a running child, and that's what's going to happen after school more and more.
Well, another thing to look for is when the school buses stop, you have to make sure that you wait, because when they put out that stop sign, that means you can expect some students to come out.
Yeah, that is one of the most egregious and dangerous things we see happening. And having spent a couple of years dropping my son off a bus, I can't tell you how many times I've seen people run that stop sign that comes out. That is incredibly dangerous, very illegal, and that comes from that lack of attention that people have. It's not usually people running it. If people know it's there, they stop. But if you're not paying attention and you don't see it, you're going to blow that stop sign and you're putting kids in danger.
We're talking with Jeff Larason from the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security. How about some advice for parents of younger children? They could be going to kindergarten or first grade. They have to walk to school. I mean, do you just open the door and let them loose, or do you do a few more things besides that?
Yeah, not in this day and age. Well, so I mean, the advice is to do some practice runs with your kids. Get them to know the pattern, get them to know where they should be looking, and so that if you're going to let them walk on their own as they get a little bit older, so they know where they're supposed to be going, practice with them. That's the most important thing, and make sure that they know how to cross at crosswalks, because that's even on quiet streets, that's a challenging thing for younger kids to learn. So it needs to be practiced. They need to be taught. It's not anything that comes with just being born.
Well, another thing that some parents have to think about is driving their children safely to school. Sounds easy, but yeah. I guess for younger children, again, you have to be concerned about how they are in the seats.
Well, yeah, that's absolutely the case. And actually, our next program that's coming out is in child passenger safety, and we have a website that it's mass.gov/car seats that would be a very important resource. Most car seats that kids are in are not installed properly, but there are resources all over the state. There are over 700 car seat technicians who can do the installation for you or check the installation you've done to make sure it's done right, because improper installation or kids not being belted or in car seats is really a leading cause of injuries and fatalities for younger kids.
Talk about the ages, because I'm still used to thinking of the car seats, infants and toddlers, but it goes quite a bit beyond that, I guess.
Yeah, so the website has pretty good details. There's a phased process where you go from facing backwards to facing forwards to a car seat to a booster seat to being out of the seat. So it's actually easier if they can go to the website and take a look at it. The big challenge is that the age before you move up to the front seat, and I had this this tug of war, this argument with my son, is the age of 13. That's where they go up to the front seat. No matter how big, small, it's the age 13, and that's where a lot of those challenging debates happen with parents and kids.
I want to ask you for some advice about drivers confronted with pedestrians crossing, because we have this whole spectrum here. We have drivers who will see someone in a crosswalk and they won't stop. And then at the other end, we have drivers who see someone who's not in a crosswalk and they very courteously decide to stop.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's this tension in Boston between pedestrians and bicyclists and drivers, and what we really need to do, we just need to understand everyone's a pedestrian. I drive most places I go, and I get out of my car and I have to walk to where I'm going. So we just need to recognize that you're a person, I'm a person, and we just need to be polite, but follow the rules so that, if you have the right of way, you get the right of way. And everybody knows the rules. This isn't a question of teaching people the rules. Pedestrians have the right of way when they're in the crosswalk in Massachusetts, and we need to give it to them.
And that means if they're in the crosswalk, no matter what the light signal happens to say.
Well, if there is a stop sign, then you can't get through. But pedestrians, by and large, when they're in the crosswalk, give them the right of way.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Absolutely.
Jeff Larason from the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security. We'll have more news in just a moment.